You say, I think Tallarico's a stronger candidate than Crockett. Well, the NRSC thinks that, and they polled it. CBS News and the Ellisons and Brendan Carr think that because they tried to keep Tallarico out there. I mean, it's pretty clear who they don't want, and that should be the person we want.
Now for our listener questions, always a favorite segment. Joel in Tampa, Florida, James, says our country is now completely ruled by money from top to bottom. I hear talk of fixing this and that, but how can anything be fixed when money remains a controlling factor?
Well, it's always been a big factor. It's now maybe the only factor. I mean, everything is for sale. I appreciate the question. I think the magnitude is this. If you took all of the corruption in the United States government from the year, say, 1789 through even Trump's first term, through January 20th, 2025, and then from January 20th, 2025 to where we are now, February the 19th, 2026, there's more been stolen in that time than the accumulated rest of the country. That's what I believe how big of a money problem you got. It's everywhere. And it's right out in the open. It's in Bitcoin. It's the people buying the stuff. It's unbelievable. But you ask the right question. Unfortunately, the answer is we're stealing at a rate that is unprecedented in American history. Unprecedented.
You got our peace negotiators, Witkoff and Jarrett over there. If they don't have a good day in negotiations, they're still making money. It's really outrageous. Joseph in Schenectady, New York, says, with no more presidential approval ratings, it seems to me that Trump regime has pressured Gallup into changing what data collects and what data reports. What do you think about it? Well, first of all, Joseph, there are approval ratings from other polls. I think Gallup made a terrible mistake. I don't know if they got pressure or not from Trump. It would not surprise me. But the import of those approval ratings was not the number, but the historical comparisons. If Trump is at 43%, you can say, well, that's pretty bad. And if someone says, well, X was at 44% and they got reelected, I don't think that happened. But that was the importance. And I don't know why Gallup did it, but I think it was a huge, huge disservice to the public.
Well, okay. I think I know why they did it. They were pressured. For 88 years, and people would pay attention to it. They had a historical database and everything. All of a sudden, when the current administration is complaining, and they're complaining even about trying to shut Fox polls down, and you just roll out of bed one morning and say, I think we're going to ask presidential approval anymore. It doesn't really fit with our current mission. And they're nice people. They're competent people. I did a speech for them not very long ago. In their business is so many different things, and the political business, I'm sure, is not hardly anything of what they're about. But of course, they were pressured, and of course, in their name will be in history, be shit all over. That's the decision they made.
Jay in St. Petersburg, Florida, asked you, James, the nation has had many political parties in the past that no longer exist. What will it take to push this failed remnant of the Republican Party into oblivion?
Well, first of all, the Republican Party that I knew is in oblivion. It basically doesn't exist anymore. I mean, there used to be a Republican Party that actually would talk about deficits, okay? They claimed to care about the military. They believed in kind of somewhat lower tax rates, lower regulation. I don't know. That's all gone. It's all gone. It was just completely taken over by Trump, its members, and everything else. And maybe that party won't exist anymore. I have no idea. To the extent that some of them are coming over to the Democratic Party, I welcome, and maybe it can change this culture that we got in the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Greg in Atlanta, Georgia, asked, given that the Senate may now be in play for Democrats, how much of a risk is that ultra-progressive candidates may win primaries and be defeated in the generals, such as Graham Plattner in Maine, Abdul El Sayed in Michigan, and Jasmine Crockett in Texas. Greg, it's a worry. I don't think it's a worry in Michigan. I think the contest in Michigan is basically between Haley Stevens and Mallory McMurrow. I think McMurrow is a much stronger candidate. I think Saeed would lose, but I don't think he's going to be the nominee. In Maine, I'm not. I still would probably bet on Susan Mills. I think it's Susan Mills, Janet Mills, the governor. She would be a stronger candidate. The big enchilada here, if you will, is Texas in the May 3 primary. If Jasmine, it now appears at least a probably 60% probability that the ethically challenged Ken Paxton will win the Republican primary, will win the at least in a runoff. He's been indicted. He was impeached by the House there. He's a really unsavory character. He is the one Texas Republican who is beatable. And James Tallarico can beat him. Jasmine Crockett cannot beat him. I don't care what the polls show right now. That's just a reality. So that's a danger. If Tallarico wins that primary, I think the Democrats, if it's Tallarico versus Paxton, I'd bet on the Democrats. If it's Crockett versus Paxton, I'd bet on the Republicans.
Well, okay, let's talk about Texas. The Republicans manipulated Crockett into the race. They started leaking polls. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, because when CBS said they didn't want to air the Tallarico interview, it's pretty clear that the Ellisons and Barry Weiss didn't want to give Tallarico any help. As it turned out, they gave him help on steroids because of the way they handled it. So you say, I think Tallarico's a stronger candidate than Crockett. Well, the NRSC thinks that, and they polled it. CBS News and the Ellisons and Brendan Carr think that because they tried to keep Tallarico out the air. I mean, it's pretty clear who they don't want, and that should be the person we want.
Yeah. James, this is picking up on this. Frank in Long Island wants to know what are the factors that make you, Mr. Carville, so sure about the midterms pointing to a big win?
Okay, let's start with it. Historically, it's probably 80%. Didn't get one in 202, didn't get one in 98 so much, but other than that, our 2022, they're pretty predictable. Secondly, presidential approval is totally in the toilet. Third, I look at recruitment, and the Democrats are just recruiting everybody that they want. Republican retirements at an all-time high. I clearly look at polling, but more than anything else, I look at election returns. And if you look at election returns and you place the kind of value I do on people actually voting, it leads you to the inescapable conclusion that I've arrived at: the Democrats are going to win the Senate back. And I think that people who say, well, it's a 40% chance, or, you got to admit they got a kind of an outside chance, are just not looking at the data in the accumulated data from 5 different data points: polling, history, retirements, actual election returns, presidential approval, direction of the country. And it's just hard to look at all of that and not have that point to a Messier. Yeah. And I'm always asking people to tell me how does it not happen? And you get some people who have some better answers than others, but it's going to be hard for it not to happen.
Well, I agree with you if the most winnable candidates win several of those primaries.
Yeah.
If they don't, then I think
person can hurt us as us.
Then I'm right. Jill in Murfreesboro, Tennessee says, what's in store for the Democratic Party and what kind of a candidate should we run in 28? I'm loving Newsom. We need an arrogant, benevolent asshole. Thoughts? Jill, let me give you my thoughts. Don't worry about it now. It'll take care of itself. Worry about November, this November. Most important midterm elections in your lifetime. I don't know, you're undoubtedly younger than we are, but most important midterm elections in our lifetime. And after November, then focus on 28, whether it's Newsom, whether it's Beshear, whether it's Wes Moore. That'll then take care of itself. That's, it's a year and 15 months before there's a caucus or a primary. So, Jill, right now, focus all of your attention on 2026.
Jill, listen to me. I 100% agree with what Al just said. I've studied about no 28. I get through 26. let's pick up as many seats as we can. Then we'll do that. We'll be plenty 28 stuff ahead of us.
Yes. Finally, Susan in District 13, Florida. I'm not sure where. I guess it's CD 13. Yeah. She says, I'm running as a Democrat in the midterms. She's running against Representative Luna. I'm just starting my campaign. I'm looking for guidance and support. You have any advice for me or Democrats like me running against incumbents?
Yeah, Representative Luna's last name is Tick. So just call her Lunatic because that's what she is. Yeah, look, good luck there. And as you know, maybe you don't. I'm pretty bullish about Florida. I'm really bullish about David Jolly, our gubernatorial candidate, and really bullish about Alexander Vinneman, our Senate candidate. So I think if you get any kind, I think you'd have a good wind at your back, and you go, girl. We're excited, but let's try to get you on the podcast here. Sometimes we introducing these challenges. You got a lot of gumption. Let's go get them. Lunatic.
Yeah, Susan. Susan, keep us posted on how it's going. Okay. Listen, please keep those questions coming in. If we didn't get to yours this week, we'll try to get to it next week. It is so hard. I think the most difficult task, James, I have every week is picking which 7 questions we're going to choose from because they are so good and we really appreciate it. So please keep them coming.
Yeah, we might have to take more here. This is a big election yet. All the interest is,
Maybe we'll just do a special segment with questions, or maybe a special segment with our listeners.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
call in, right?